Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. And you've seen in the title, we're talking about how to rent an apartment in Mexico. Now, I'm chilling in my new apartment here in Guadalajara. If you haven't seen that video, check that out. That's my previous one. And we're gonna talk about living in Mexico. I'm gonna tell you the legal process of how to get an apartment, the legal requirements you need. We're gonna talk about how to find different ways of finding apartments, as well as the prerequisites that most landlords are gonna ask you for before you sign a contract and you get the keys. So let's get into all of that. I believe it's valuable information. I touched on it before in my other apartment tour videos, but I didn't really get too crazy into it. So I'm gonna bring you the full breakdown now, very comprehensive breakdown, so you can understand if you're interested in coming to Mexico and renting an apartment. So let's get into it. So first, the legal requirements of you being able to rent an apartment here in Mexico, sign a lease, contract, officially legal. Now, there's a few ways of going about this. Now, it goes without being said, if you have Mexican citizenship or residency, then that's automatically enough for you. Obviously, you need a job to prove your how much you make, your earnings, and there's other things that they ask for. So if you have residency, or if you're planning on getting your residency, then this will be the way to go. And I would say that 6 months minimum, because if you're only going to be in Mexico for like 2 months, 3 months, you're not coming to live here, you're just going to spend some time here. It doesn't make any sense to try to find an apartment and sign a contract, because most people won't do it for that short amount of time. Sure, there are people who will, but it'll be very difficult to find. So that best bet, if you're there for that short amount of time, Airbnb it. It's the easiest way. It's the easiest way. But if you're planning on staying here for at least 6 months or more, definitely is worth doing, signing a contract. My first contract, my first apartment, the contract I signed for that one, the last one, that was for 7 months. So it was from June 1st until December 31st. So I decided not to renew it because I found another place that I liked with more space and, more things that I liked. And I just went with this one. So basically, yes, legal resident of Mexico, goes without saying, no problem. Now, if you are coming on a tourist visa, you plan on staying 6 months and you want to do that, it is possible. It's not exactly easy, but it is possible. For that, you would have to search some Facebook groups, talk to different people, and kind of see if anybody knows anybody that doesn't require a bunch of these documents and things like that. So I think that'd be the best bet in that situation, but it's really straightforward. I mean, if you really, really want to go for it, you can ask around, you can see if you can find something that's straight up for 6 months as a tourist. If not, consider getting your residency if you want to be in Mexico for a long time. It's not hard, it's not very expensive, and it's straightforward. So definitely recommend that if you plan on staying here for 6 months or longer and living here, basically. All right, so let's get into the next part. Now let's talk about the requirements that most landlords, most companies, even if it's like a commercial building where they're renting out apartments, will ask you for. Okay, now there are 31 states in Mexico, and then there's Mexico City. So every state can be different in certain ways, but this is pretty much standard throughout Mexico, the things I'm going to tell you next. So I mean, if you're moving to Mexico City, you're moving to Yucatan, you're coming here to Guadalajara, wherever you're going, Monterrey, it's probably going to be similar or the same requirements. So basically, most landlords will require you, and this is most, not all, not everybody does, but will ask for what is called an aval or fiador. What that is in Spanish is basically a cosigner, someone who will take responsibility if you do something, you mess the place up, or you don't pay, or any other stipulations if you break the contract. All right. Now that goes for everybody, Mexicans, foreigners, no matter what. You can move from another state of Mexico to a different one, they'll still ask for it, doesn't matter. Now, if you don't have that, then you may be asked to pay 2 months ahead of rent of time, 2 months of rent or 2 months deposit, to kind of cover it. And like 1 month deposit, 2 months rent, depending how the landlord wants to do it. Okay. So there are people who are willing to work around that. Some people are like, no, if you don't have one, we can't do it. I'm like, all right, move to the next. So that's one requirement. Now, also, it's possible to do it without that. I've done it twice without that. It really is just the individual person. And you always want to ask that question when you were looking at the listing. Okay, I don't have a guarantor, or the fiador, the aval, the cosigner. Is there any way we could work another deal? and you tell them you'll show any documents they need. You can prove how much you make from your job, anything like that. And it's very possible to do it because I've done it and other people that I know have done it as well. So that's another way. And that's without the cosigner. You just need to pay a higher deposit, like I said. Another way, another requirement rather, it's going to be just showing, well, let me get to this one. Some people will ask for a background check. Now, if you don't have one in Mexico, it doesn't make sense. Some people won't budge from that, but sometimes it'll be like a $50 fee. You just, pay it. If the place is worth it to you, and then whatever, get it over with. And then you should be good. Some places will ask you for an justicia alternativa, which means alternative justice contract, which is a basically the government being a guarantor for you in case you mess something up or break the contract. All right, so those are the basic requirements. I mean, it's really just getting out there, talking to people, messaging people, networking. There's plenty of ways that you can get an informal apartment out here, and I mean, it all depends on what you want to do. If you feel comfortable going through all that to sign a lease, it really just depends on what's right for you. Next, let's talk about where to find these apartment listings. Now, there are several different ways for you to actually find the apartment listings. So let's say you're going to move to, I don't know, Lima, Peru, not necessarily here in Mexico, but even this can apply for anywhere you go. But let's say you're coming to Mexico. Let's just say you're coming to Mexico, right? Mexico, Lima, Bogota, any of those. So you're going to move to Mexico City, right? So you want to go on to Facebook and look in the foreigner groups, expat groups, because you'll also find that they post apartment listings in those, and a lot of those are informal, and that's probably your best bet if you don't want to get locked into a long-term contract, is to join an expat group in the city you plan on moving to, and networking with people and just making friends and knowing people, asking them about apartments, tell them, hey, I'm not trying to sign a contract, but this and that, your preferences. That's a really good way to do it as well. Now we're talking about Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace, you can go in and put whatever city is you're looking for, Monterrey, Tijuana, whatever, and then you put your price range. And if you're looking for like a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, millions of listings. And you just click on those listings, you see what makes sense, you contact the seller, and you just go through like that. That's how I found this place and the last place that I found, honestly. And I find it to be very useful. And you'll find all kinds of different situations, from furnished, unfurnished. It really depends on what you want. Just keep in mind that the parts of the city you want to live in, because you'll see some really good deals, but it'll be a little bit far and not very centric. So it all depends on what you're looking for and what works for you. There are tons and tons of listings in Mexico, nice places that you can even pay for a room in certain cities in the US and Europe and other countries like that. So definitely Facebook Marketplace. Also, you can connect with a realtor by any of these sites that you may be able to find. That one is a little, because I wouldn't say it's the best. It really depends. I think that on Facebook Marketplace, they have realtors as well that can help you, or you can do a direct contract with the owner, which I think is even better. And normally here, you're not going to pay, depending if you're doing a contract with an owner, right? And the owner already has a realtor, you don't pay anything to that realtor. The owner pays whatever the commission is. So you don't pay an extra charge. So that's a good thing. So those are the best ways. And network, ask people, like, hey, what's the best ways of finding apartments? Go into Google and type in apartments for rent in Monterrey, apartments for rent in Cancun, or wherever it is that you're going. And I'm telling you, it's just an endless list of places. But in my opinion, and my preference, and my, for me, Facebook Marketplace is probably the best. It depends. If you want to go a little fancy, you could just walk into these buildings and these higher, these fancier buildings. All depends on what your taste is, and just talk to them straight up. So yeah, that's how I go about finding them. And let's close this video out. So I hope this video helped you. I hope I was able to shine some light. I know it may be kind of confusing to know what to expect when you move into a new country. And as a guy that's the inside man, that's been here, that's done it himself, you can trust me that the process is fairly easy when coming to Mexico. So if you haven't already, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think, any input you have, personal experience. Check out my older videos about apartments, getting my residency. I got a lot of solid stuff on there, things I think that you would like. So you all have a great day, great evening, wherever you are in the world, and until the next video, peace.